Now, this is about a mother who discovered her 2-year-old toddler in a stove. And it is so terrible. And I am about to watch this, and I want you guys to watch it with me.
Tell me exactly what happened.
When I just came home from work, my babies was dead, and I just came home from work. My husband was babysitting my kids and left my kids dead in my house. Ain't no telling how long they've been in this house.
At around 11:30 p.m. on Friday, October 13, 2017, a frantic call came in from 24-year-old Lamora Williams. She reported a horrifying discovery. 2 of her youngest children were left to dead in a stove. Lamora was a single mother of 4, struggling to care for her toddlers. According to her, she asked a cousin to babysit her 3 kids for 12 hours. But when she came home from work, her cousin had disappeared. The apartment door was open, swinging slightly as if someone had left in a hurry. She found her oldest son crying in the living room. A strange smell of burnt meat thickened the air. Lamora rushed into the kitchen, fearing a fire. She opened the stove, and to her shock and horror, there lay her 2 youngest children, lifeless.
Atlanta 911, operator 7054 with the other thing. Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question. If this is a serious matter, I left like in the house with the kids. She just left my kids in the house when I came back from work, and my kids are dead. What do I gotta do? They dead. She left them dead in the house by themselves.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Where are you now?
I'm in my house. She left my door open. My baby boy, my oldest baby boy, is the only one that's here, the only one that's alive. She left them in the house by themselves. She left them in here, and they knocked the stove. Can you listen? When I came in, the stove was laying on my youngest son's head, and my other son was laid out on the floor with his brains laid out on the floor. I don't know what to do. I just came home to work from this.
Okay, ma'am, I'm gonna get EMS and I'm gonna get police fire at the location. Can you tell me where you're located?
The operator quickly dispatched the police, firefighters, and paramedics to the scene. Lamora was too frightened. She couldn't keep her mind straight.
Okay, hold on a moment, because I'm gonna also get EMS on the line as well, okay?
Yes,
Hold on
please.
one moment. Yes, ma'am. Stay on the line with me, though. Hold on one moment for me.
Okay.
Tell me exactly what happened.
When I just came home from work, my babies was stuck in it. I just came home from work. They were babysitting my kids and left my kids dead in my house. Ain't no telling how long they've been in this house.
All right, wait. So is your son, is he obviously dead? Is he breathing at all? Can you tell me
He's dead. He's burnt. Both of my children are dead. Their head is burnt. Is laying on this floor. The stove is one of my babies. The stove is pulled over and everything.
All right, Atlanta, can we get PD started to this location? I'm operator 839.
Yes, we have PD and fire already en route to that location.
All right, there you go.
Please hurry up, please.
All right, ma'am. I'm en route.
Okay, thanks so much.
All right.
Just minutes later, another distressed 911 call was placed, but this time, it wasn't from Lamora. The call was brief but powerful, sending shockwaves to the entire investigation. Who was this mystery caller? Where was Lamora's cousin, the one who was supposed to watch the children? Stay tuned as we unravel these chilling details. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss an update on our latest videos. Let's dive back into the story. Police and emergency responders arrived at Lamora Williams' apartment to find her standing by the doorway, visibly shaken. They were immediately struck with an overwhelming stench, a sickly odor of something burned. Waiting for them in the kitchen was a scene of indescribable horror. There, on the cold tile floor, lay 2 tiny bodies, 2-year-old Jakarta Williams and 1-year-old Keontae Penn. The boys were not only deceased, but had endured immense suffering before their deaths. Police noticed severe injuries on their heads, which raised immediate questions. Was this a tragic accident, or something far more sinister? They began interviewing neighbors and Lamora Williams' family to find out what led to this horrifying event. The bodies were carefully removed from the apartment and taken to the coroner's office for an autopsy. The findings would send another chilling wave through the investigation. Both Keontae and Jakarta had spent a prolonged time in the oven. The coroner's report noted this in stark, haunting detail. These thermal changes appear to be entirely from dry heat and changes from prolonged exposure to heat. It would require ample time to get to this degree. The coroner could not determine a definitive cause of death, but ruled out blunt force trauma, as there were no fractures or broken bones. Lamora pressed the police to find her cousin, desperate to find justice for her sons. But before officers could begin their search, Jamil Penn Sr., the boy's father, arrived on the scene. To everyone's surprise, Jamil already knew what he was walking into. Minutes after Lamora's call, Jamil had placed his own 911 report. He had seen everything before he even arrived. At around 11:40 p.m. on Friday, October 13, 2017, Jamil Penn Sr. frantically called 911, claiming to be parent of the two dead boys in his ex-partner's home.
I just received a call from my child that two my sons are dead in an apartment.
Okay, there's a lot of background noise. There what in an apartment, sir?
I just received a call that two of my kids are dead inside of an apartment.
Jamil had just received a horrifying video call from Lamora. During the call, she turned the camera to show the lifeless bodies of their children. Shocked and devastated, Jamil's voice quivered as he reported the news.
Okay, did she call 911? What's the address?
No, she didn't call 911. She called me and she video called me. And showed me this, and I seen it.
What's the address?
And I really think they are really dead.
What's your name, sir?
My name is.
Jamil prayed God this was a prank.
Okay.
I want to know they actually dead. Please give me a call back as soon as possible.
Okay, we'll get you out there to check it out, okay?
I'm sorry?
We'll get us out there to check it out, okay?
All right.
All right.
Aware of the phone calls to 911 from both Lamora and Jamil Penn Sr., but nothing could clarify what had led to such a scene. Outside the apartment, neighbors were gathering. Many reported that Lamora always left the children alone while she went to work. There was no regular babysitter. In fact, they had not seen anyone coming to watch the children for weeks. Suspicion started to mount around Lamora herself. It turned out she called 911 to ask if she would be held responsible for her children's deaths.
Ma'am, I can't even talk. This is so serious. I'm so scared. I don't want to get locked up because I was at work.
Okay, ma'am, I understand it's scared. I completely understand, but I need to get some help out there to you now. Can you tell me where you're located?
I understand that, but can you please be like, I don't want to get locked up because this is not my fault. I had just came from work. I just came home from work.
Okay. Ma'am, the first thing that I need to do is get some help out there to you. I understand that you're upsetting yourself.
Like it's the fault. She left my baby dead.
Okay.
And I don't know where to bring her.
If you were at work, ma'am, listen to me. If you were at work while this happened, then the responsibility is going to fall on your sisters that's who you left them with. Okay?
Throughout the 911 call, Lamora's primary concern seemed to be whether she'd be accused of murder. Rather than providing critical details to expedite emergency response, she never once mentioned her name, her children's names, or even her apartment address. Another chilling detail emerged from neighbors who reported foul odor of something dead coming from Lamora's apartment days before the 911 call. This suggested that the children might have been deceased long before they were discovered. It contradicted Lamora's claim that she had just come home to find them dead, raising doubts about her version of events. Further adding to the horror, police reported that Lamora's 3-year-old surviving son, Jamil Penn Jr., had likely witnessed the deaths of his brothers. The child repeatedly claimed, "Mommy hurt my brother," a haunting detail later confirmed by his father, Jamil C.
Like I said, he knows what happened. He was there. You know what I'm saying? And I get it far off his mind as possible because he talks about it, if not every day, every hour on the hour about his brother.
In the early hours of Saturday, October 14, 2017, investigators arrested Lamora Williams on suspicion of murdering her 2 youngest sons.
24-year-old Lamora Williams knowingly put her 2 boys inside of the oven at her apartment and then turned it on sometime between 12 a.m. this past Thursday and 11 p.m. this past Friday, nearly a 48-hour window. Somewhere in there, investigators believe she carried that act of putting her boys inside of the oven. And a glimpse into her apartment where police spent several hours investigating, and neighbors told us they witnessed officers remove an oven from.
Investigators also removed the stove from Lamora Williams' apartment, hoping it would yield critical evidence to confirm the exact manner of death, as the coroner's report remained inconclusive. But a haunting question lingered. What could drive a mother to such unimaginable cruelty? Little is known about Lamora Williams' life. Born in 1983, she grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, alongside her parents and an older sister. Close family and friends affectionately called her Red. According to her mother and sister, Lamora had battled mental health challenges from an early age, possibly since birth. This troubling history was echoed by her ex-partner, Jamil Penn Sr.
Now, I know her father very well, so, they always told she had, mental illness when she was birthed.
Her mother, Brenda, recalled troubling incidents suggesting that Lamora had shown violent behavior from a young age. Brenda even homeschooled Lamora, fearing she might hurt other children at school. She was a slow learner. I had to pull her out of school and do homeschooling. She'd do simple things like cutting my other daughter with a knife and her own doll's heads off. We only see them in horror movies. I've been afraid since then. Brenda's claims were supported by Lamora's sister, Tabitha. She confirmed that despite their mother's efforts to find help for Lamora, no one would support them. Teachers would say something was wrong, but the state said nothing was wrong. This is something the state didn't recognize. The whole state failed us. At 18, Lamora gave birth to her first child, a daughter named London Williams. However, her relationship with London's father soon dissolved, and Lamora returned to live with her parents. Despite the separation, Lamora and her ex-partner co-parented amicably, with his family providing both financial and practical support. Shortly after, Lamora met Jamil Penn Sr. Their connection was instant. They shared a love for adventure, and Lamora was full of life and laughter. Signs of her struggle with depression were not immediately apparent. In fact, Jamil described himself as the hothead, and Lamora as the calm presence in their relationship, a son named Jamil Penn Jr. The young family moved in with her parents while they saved for a place of their own.
She's really mentally ill until the death of her father in 2014. 2014, I found him.
On April 20th, 2014, Jamil discovered Lamora's father unresponsive in his bed. Reports indicated he had suffered a heart attack the previous night. This loss devastated Lamora, who had always been close to her father and relied on him as a source of stability and strength. Afterward, Lamora slipped further into depression. Instead of seeking professional help, Jamil persuaded Lamora to have 2 more children, Jakarta Williams and Keontae Penn, in 2 consecutive years. He believed motherhood would heal Lamora's soul. But instead of helping, 3 small kids brought severe postpartum depression. Jamil then took his mistake to another level, persuading Lamora to leave her mother and move to an apartment in Oakland City, Atlanta. As predicted, Lamora's depression worsened while Jamil lost his patience. Within a year, the tension reached a breaking point. Jamil decided to end their relationship, leaving Lamora to face her challenges largely on her own. Despite the breakup, Jamil remained closely connected to his sons, visiting them frequently and providing financial support. But Lamora's mother, Brenda, grew anxious, sensing that something was wrong with Lamora's state of mind. Brenda reached out to Child Protective Services repeatedly, pleading for help and warning that something tragic could happen if Lamora were left alone with the children. Brenda said, "I reported her to the district because I either wanted them to give me the kids or get the kids out of her possession, because at one time I thought she was just going nuts not feeding them." Brenda even reached out to Jamil. She was certain Lamora was about to harm herself or the children. Desperate to protect her grandchildren, Brenda pleaded with authorities to grant her custody. She eventually turned to the Division of Family and Children's Services, DFCS, alleging that Lamora was neglecting the children, often leaving them unfed. Sadly, her concerns fell on deaf ears as months passed without intervention. However, DFCS claimed they were never contacted about Lamora's mental health capacity and welfare of her children. In a 73-page report, DFCS only documented Jakarta and Keontae's deaths, citing inadequate supervision. Lamora's sister, Tabitha, said she feared Lamora would do something to herself, but never to her children. Her family often offered help, but she refused, with Lamora not wanting that help, not letting us come to visit her, not answering phone calls, not answering the door. According to Lamora's closest friend, Lamora had quit her job in September 2017, overwhelmed by the stress of balancing motherhood and work. Lamora confided that she couldn't take it anymore. 1 month later, she committed an unthinkable crime. On Saturday, October 21, 2017, a week after the boys' tragic discovery, they were laid to rest at Southview Cemetery, Atlanta's historic Black cemetery. The funeral took place at West Hunter Street Baptist Church, drawing members of the community who gathered to mourn and support the family. Among them was a great-nephew of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who came to deliver the eulogy. The boys' caskets were adorned with pictures of them and their favorite superheroes. As Jamil Sr. held his surviving child, white horses carried the caskets away in a solemn procession. As Jamil Sr. laid their sons to rest, Lamora awaited her court hearing at Fulton County Jail without bail. He tried to contact her by phone, seeking answers. He described her responses as chillingly indifferent, showing no remorse, even when asked why she had committed such a horrendous act. Her lack of remorse was disheartening. Using the latest autopsy results and statements from family and neighbors, investigators pieced together a reconstruction of the tragic events. Although the exact cause of death remained undetermined, the findings revealed disturbing burn marks on the boys' bodies, suggesting that the stove had been used to harm them. Head trauma was identified as the primary cause of most injuries, further intensifying the investigation. Detectives theorized that following her breakup with Jamil Sr., Lamora's mental state deteriorated rapidly, with the combination of childhood depression and postpartum depression. Her resentment worsened by the loneliness and pressure she faced daily. These may have led her to lose all desire to raise her children. She reportedly left the kids unfed and unattended for long periods. In September 2017, Lamora quit her job to stay at home, a decision that marked her breaking point. Struggling to balance the demands of 3 young children while losing her own independence, Lamora was overwhelmed and tragically tried to escape by silencing her children once and for all. Investigators theorized that Lamora's attempts to control the boys escalated into fatal violence, with her hit the boys in their head. They may have been dead between noon on October 12, 2017 and the late evening of October 13. After that, Lamora used the oven to cover up the true nature of the crime. Before dialing 911, Lamora had already called her best friend Nisa Smith, implicating suicide. As Nisa pressed for the truth, Lamora confessed that the boys were dead. Nisa urged her to call the police immediately, but instead, Lamora reached out to the children's father. According to Jamil, Lamora called him Friday night and yelled, "They're dead." He confused and asked, "Who's dead?" Lamora switched to video call and showed him the horror. Jamil recalled, "When she turned the phone to the floor, I seen my 2 sons on the floor, both not moving, one by the stove, one not too far from his brother. They both weren't moving." She then staged the 911 call to divert blame, portraying herself as someone who had merely stumbled upon the horror. To reinforce this narrative, she blamed an unnamed cousin for neglecting her children. Sergeant John Chawley of the Atlanta Police Department remarked that, "We had searched for the unnamed cousin who was allegedly watching the children, but found no one." It soon became clear that she'd been withholding information. At this time, investigators do not believe the children's mother left them with a caregiver. In subsequent interviews with investigators, Lamora even shifted blame onto her sister, claiming she was responsible for the children's deaths. Had Lamora truly been at work and only stumbled upon the crime scene afterward, her primary concern would be the well-being of her children, not her own guilt. What worse, she had taken time to create a narrative before contacting emergency services. The prosecutors believed Lamora was guilty. Now, her fate was in the hands of a grand jury. On February 2nd, 2018, a grand jury formally indicted Lamora Williams on several charges, including murder, making false statements, aggravated assault, concealing a death, and cruelty to children. The latter charge reflected the harrowing revelation that Lamora and her 3-year-old son had been in the apartment at the time of his siblings' deaths. Lamora's mother, Brenda, attempted to visit her at the Fulton County Jail, but was denied access. Deeply worried about Lamora's mental state, Brenda requested that her daughter be placed under 24-hour surveillance, fearing she might harm herself.
I just came from the jailhouse to let them know to put her on suicide watch because she's going to kill herself.
Though updates on Lamora's case have been sparse, there are speculations that she may have been deemed unfit for trial and transferred to a psychiatric facility. The case remains unresolved, leaving the public to wonder if Lamora will ever face trial. On May 30th, 2018, Lamora appeared in court for a status hearing ahead of her upcoming trial, scheduled for January 2019. The judge upheld the charges, to which Lamora pleaded not guilty. She returned to jail, where authorities placed her under close surveillance. For years, there had been no further updates or developments in Lamora Williams' case. Speculation has grown that she may be deemed unfit to stand trial, following evaluations conducted during her incarceration. Many believe she was transferred to or in files maintained by the Georgia Bureau of Criminal Investigation. Her records remain sealed and confidential, leaving her status shrouded in mystery. Finally, on Friday, June 2, 2023, Lamora attended Fulton County Superior Court for a final plea hearing. She was in the room, but did not appear in front of the judge. A future trial date was set, but details were not published. Reflecting on the tragedy, Lamora's sister's Tabitha said, "That was a demonic spirit took over her. She looks possessed. That didn't even look like her. That mugshot. She looks evil." Lamora's mother, Brenda, expressed deep sorrow but admitted that she was not entirely surprised by the devastating outcome. Brenda, too, needs therapy to process the trauma of this ordeal. For Jamil, he has found solace in prayer and sought therapy for both himself and young Jamil Jr. His only comfort lies in the belief that Keontae and Jakarta are now together in a better place. "I'm praying, and I'm grateful they don't have to suffer anymore." The tragedy moved local funeral director Willie Watkins deeply. He donated a burial plot at Southview Cemetery to the boys and arranged a touching farewell at their funeral. Watkins spoke with young Jamil Jr., gently explaining that his brothers were now at peace and were watching over him from heaven. However, Jamil Jr. was haunted by that night, frequently shared vivid details of what he witnessed to his father. He said, "They go on the stove themselves. I saw Jakarta sleep on the stove. Are Keontae and Jakarta going to come back after they've been dead?"
Hey, we going back to mama house? I said, we ain't going back to mama house. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm going back to mama house. You stay with me now.
Jamil Sr. is forever haunted by that night. Every time he closes his eyes, he still sees his boys lying motionless on the kitchen floor. Yet he refuses to let this tragedy define him as a victim. Instead, he uses his loss to inspire and uplift others. "I want everyone to use my story as a helping hand. I lost my 2 young boys to violence, and I want to be the difference maker in someone else's life to prevent a child from being hurt." The story of Lamora Williams highlights the complex issues surrounding mental health, family trauma, and the role of social services. Perhaps, with earlier intervention and adequate support, this tragedy could have been avoided. What are your thoughts? Who holds responsibility when family pleas go unheard and the warning signs are missed? Feel free to share in the comments. If there's a case you're interested in, let us know. And if you enjoyed this video,
That was so sad. And it's just sad that the system failed them like that, you know? I feel like, I don't know why this, I really don't, but they would get sued if me, because it ain't like they didn't try. So that's all for this video, and I am so sorry that happened to the kids. I could not even imagine. And it definitely is the devil that take over you when you do anything like that. And it's just terrible. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next upload. Bye.
don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.